Welcome back to the show today. Today we are talking about Kyrie Irving and his career and his trajectory as a person. I want to say I'm making this video because I've noticed a lot of the behaviors and the attitudes that Kyrie has adopted over the past 6 years are similar to ones I've seen in myself in the past. And these habits made me thoroughly miserable. So this is coming from a place of sincere empathy, and this is not an indictment on Kyrie's character. My intention of this video is to encourage some introspection in your own life, not to incite negative feelings about this man. He is a human like all of us. He makes mistakes. Kyrie has also done a lot of good things for those in need. He's donated money to the WNBA. He donated 50,000 N95 masks to a Sioux tribe in North Dakota that his mother was a part of. And he helped get clean drinking water to the people of Pakistan. I could go on. There's like 6 or 7 things I could mention, but the point is he's done a lot of good things for people. Kyrie is one of the best point guards in the league, and he has had to work very hard to get there. Kyrie transferred into St. Patrick's High School, where all of his teammates were already 5-star recruits, including eventual 2nd overall pick Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. Kyrie was 5'7", he shot from the hip, and he couldn't grow any facial hair. But in his first practice, he cooked the entire team. Kyrie also made a really great impression on Coach Krzyzewski, his future coach. Coach K saw him in an AAU tournament and said he was the best player in the tournament. He wasn't on the best team, but he was the best player. He said that he was killing everyone. Kyrie also made a similar impression when he was drafted 1st overall by the Cavs. In his first scrimmage, the entire Cavs organization came out to watch him scrimmage against Ramon Sessions, and he dominated him. Kyrie kind of reminds me of Kobe because he came up in the same way. He was trained autonomously with his dad, and he was praised for his individual accomplishments. I think Kobe and Kyrie played like they had something to prove, and like they had a reputation to uphold, rather in a way to consider how they might cohesively work in a group, which totally works if you're the #1 option on a team, and you're the leader. Then LeBron came back to Cleveland, and Kyrie had to play second fiddle to probably the only player he'd be willing to do that for. But of course, eventually he wants his own team again, and he goes to Boston because Boston was willing to give him that opportunity. And I don't blame Kyrie. Kyrie was a great player. He should have his own team. That is something he would want to do to win a championship as the #1 guy. Totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't see anything wrong with that. But here's where the cracks begin to show. At this point, no one has anything negative to say about Kyrie. He's really popular. He's beloved. He's won a championship. He has the coolest shoes in the game. He's the best dribbler. And he had a feature-length film come out where he is the star. He was the star of Uncle Drew, a comedy film. Remember that? Remember that version of Kyrie? I barely do. I remember him on the Bill Simmons podcast. He did an interview, and I thought Kyrie was really charming and funny. I remember him talking about picking up girls in full Uncle Drew makeup. That's funny to me. He was charming. I really liked Kyrie. I'm sure at this point, Kyrie's ego was at an all-time high. So, Kyrie's first season in Boston gets short due to injury, but the Celtics make it all the way to Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals without Kyrie. Kyrie doesn't come to Game 7 because he's having a surgery on his deviated septum, and this is an odd time for him to schedule an elective surgery, right? And I'll be honest, I would have a really hard time watching my team succeed without me because it might make them think that they don't need me. I get that. Sometimes it's hard to enjoy the success of others if you're not involved. Again, I'm not saying this is what Kyrie did, but I'm saying this about myself, and I'm saying I would understand. Then Kyrie in 2018 in the summer, he says, if you guys will have me back, I plan on resigning to the season ticket holders for the Boston Celtics. Obviously, what's he supposed to say? Is he going to say, oh, if there's a better option, I'm going to go do the better option. If I can't have anything better than this, I'm going to stay in Boston. You know, I don't blame him for this. He's put on the spot. He has to say something, and this isn't a promise to me. So this is something Kyrie is criticized for. I personally do not criticize him for it. That's a hard position to be in. But in an interview in the following season, about halfway through in January, Kyrie says he called LeBron to apologize for his immature self in the past. Let's watch it.
I've been there in the championship, I've tasted it, but I can't expect that they're going to get it right away either. So it was a big deal for me because I had to call Bron, and tell him, like, I apologize for being that young player that wanted to everything at his, at his fingertips, and I wanted everything to be at, my threshold. I wanted to be the guy that led us to championship. I wanted to be the leader. I wanted to be all that, and sometimes getting the most out of the group. It's not the easiest thing in the world, and like I said, only few are meant for it or chosen for it.
Tatum, fall away, baseline, no, Magic win. So for the 4th time in 5 meetings, the Magic
This is a very thinly veiled criticism of his teammates, which I did not like. This is a bacon-wrapped turd, if you will. It's like saying, oh, I used to be a piece of shit, just like you are now. Like, dude, we all know what you're doing. This is when I started to get turned off of Kyrie, and I was a fan. And then you see him discussing his plans with Kevin Durant during the All-Star game, which again, I don't blame him for, but when he was asked if they were planning their offseason, he doth protest too much. He says he can't believe the media would come up with a bullshit narrative about him plotting his and KD's free agency, which later KD confirms that's exactly what they were doing. Again, he was put on the spot by the Boston media mafia. I don't know what he's supposed to say, but just say something else that you were talking about. It was a long conversation. You don't have to say everything you talked about. You can say you talked about family or the weather. Who cares? Or just say no comment. They'll get mad and they'll draw their own conclusions, but whatever. What are you gonna do? You can't please everyone. But to get defensive and bite back kind of makes you look like a coward. And I would know because I've done this before as well. It's a very common defense mechanism. Take offense at a true accusation. So Kyrie leaves and they go to Brooklyn, but I'm gonna leave out the whole CVID vaccination status thing because, hey, that's his choice. He didn't get paid for any of those games. I don't understand his decision, but he's his own man and he can do whatever he wants. I see no problem with this. So let's cut to him tweeting out an anti-Semitic documentary trailer. Obviously, this was met with severe blowback, in which Kyrie responded with this.
I would like to be on a platform where I could openly share how I feel without being harshly criticized or being labeled or dealing with, outside perceptions that have nothing to do with me.
Sometimes someone's defense is way more of an indictment on their thought process than anyone could ever attack them with. The First Amendment obviously offers you the right to free speech and expressing yourself however you want. But the other side of that coin is it doesn't protect you from the reaction of other people and having to endure their criticism. That's all part of it. I believe after posting this trailer, Kyrie thought he would be perceived as an intellectual, not an anti-Semite. I don't believe Kyrie is a hateful person. I believe he is ignorant. We all have moments of ignorance and we have to apologize for them. We all have to say, hey, my actions were not motivated by hate. They were motivated by stupidity. I've done this a lot. I've had to apologize for many things I've done because I wanted to be perceived as smart and they came across as very insensitive, which is always very embarrassing, but it is always forgivable. The cherry on top of this awful ice cream sundae is his kiss goodbye to the Brooklyn Nets after being traded to the Dallas Mavericks. Let's watch the clip.
For me personally, just sitting in the seat today, I just know I want to be places where I'm celebrated and not just tolerated or just, kind of dealt with in a way that doesn't make me feel respected. And there were times throughout this process when I was in Brooklyn where I felt very disrespected and my talent. I work extremely hard at what I do. No one ever talks about my work ethic, though. Everyone talks about what I'm doing off the floor, so.
He implies that his tumultuous tenure at the Brooklyn Nets was not his fault. His only fault was to not do the research to see how incompetent the front office of the Brooklyn Nets were. Again, this is a diss. This is not accountability. If you accept responsibility for your actions without pointing out the failures of others, people will not like it, but they will always respect it. That's all you can do in life, really. Own your mistakes and learn from them. It will always bring you peace. It may not bring you prosperity, but it will always bring you peace, and I promise that. So thank you for watching this video. Pray for Kyrie, or if you do pray, but consider the fact that he is a lot like all of us, and life can be scary. So be good to your mothers, eat your corn dogs, and